35-year-old Brook Lopez, a heck of a career, one of the handful of players remaining in the 2008 draft, will go down as one of the most underrated big men all time. He might not make the Hall of Fame, but his work ethic and transitioning his game, extending his career in the three-point era while becoming an elite rim protector, having his best defensive season in year 15, simply Hall of Fame work ethic material. Of the guys in his class, the Kevin Love, Eric Gordons, and DeAndre Jordan, all on vet minimums, even Russell Westbrook 2 years $8 million, Brook cashing in perhaps his final big contract, 2 years $48, staying put in Milwaukee, from viewed as defensive liability during his nest days to finishing second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Nobody won a DPOY award older than age 34. To think he'd be a defensive liability in the stretch 5 era, Coach Bud and his offensive system allowing Brook to stay down low, protect the rim, Giannis free safeties, and pesky perimeter players. Lopez utilizes his strength, plays his role on a team that finished with the best record 3 times. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Looking at the best bigs in the 08 class, DeAndre Jordan made first team All-NBA in the weak big man era. While it's an absolute travesty, Lopez never even made an All-NBA team once and easily will go down the greater player. Jordan much more known in his prime thanks to CP3. Roy Hibbert, another traditional big 7'2", made twice as many All-Stars as Brook. An offensive liability outside 6 feet, no real scoring skills, super slow, exposed in the modern era, lost all confidence in his game, been out the league since 2017. His career would have lasted several more years in past eras. JaVale McGee, all athleticism, had his worst season 2023, could be done by next year. Big body Nikola Pekovic, reoccurring injuries, last played in 2016. Even some of the more known bigs in previous drafts, Joakim Noah, no scoring skills. After signing a fat contract with the Knicks, his career became a joke since. Andrew Bynum, believe it or not, same age as Brook, bad knees, last played in 2014. Lopez since 2017, more games played last 7 seasons than Bynum's entire career. Andrew Bogut also found his role on a great team, but injuries forced him to retire early. Dwight Howard didn't adapt and became a whiner for the second half of his career. Al Jefferson aged poorly. Hassan Whiteside got lazy and content. DeMarcus Cousins, 2 years younger than Brook, out the league now, had numerous injuries. The Achilles tear aged him 5 years. Even Andre Drummond, 5 full years younger than Brook, now a minimum player. Lopez was never considered the best center in the game at any stage, but clearly the most adaptable and consistent, much remembered for his longevity. One of the few big men who adapted, changed their game in their 30s, similar to the greatness of Wilt Chamberlain, being less of a scorer, more of a defensive anchor. From 1967 going forward, the 2 years he's won the title, his team nearly won 70 games. Tim Duncan sacrificed his post touches in the 2010s, continued his dominant two-way presence, allowed all his teammates to play to their strength, unselfish basketball. Much like Brook, Milwaukee taking a chance on him, summer 2018 cemented them to champions 3 years later. Having 2 totally different careers, the Stanford legend, known for a polished post-game, a soft touch around the rim, but not a great athlete, slow feet, on the New Jersey team that featured Vince Carter and Devin Harris, started off averaging 13 and 8, all rookie first team, played all 82 games, but by year 2, stuck on one of the worst teams all time, became the first option. On a team that started 0-18, the 21-year-old put up almost 19 and 9, 1.7 blocks. After the Carter era, Lopez the only bright spot, averaged over 20 a game, just 6 rebounds in 2011, had a reputation being a terrible rebounder, especially being 7 feet, sustained a foot injury, played 5 games 2012, team resigned him to a 4 year $61 million, opening the Brooklyn era, became a scoring force on the block, made his first and only All-Star team. Year 5, 49 wins with Darren Williams and Joe Johnson, team poised to finally contend for a title. After trading for Garnett and Pierce, a foot injury ended his season early, just 17 games, put up 20.7 points, could have truly helped the team. Keep in mind, Brook still hasn't made a single 3-point shot until January 10, 2015. A declining D. Will ruined the team's title hopes, stuck on a bad Nets franchise. His name being in trade rumors for many years fell to the bottom again. Considered a good player, but the 20-point average in back-to-back seasons, viewed as empty stats according to many, on 20-win teams, ended his Nets tenure becoming the franchise all-time leading scorer, over 10K points with the team. But his last season in Brooklyn, under head coach Kenny Atkinson, a former assistant of Coach Bud's Hawks, urged Brook to extend his already good mid-range shot to the three-point line. Unfamiliar territory. After just 31 total threes attempts 8 seasons prior, the 28-year-old shot 387 triples, making 134 of them. Although his all-around field goal percentage dropped, the game started to change. Around the same time, traditional bigs Al Jefferson and Roy Hibbert out the NBA, young rookie Jahlil Okafor, with only a back-to-the-basket game, never had a chance to last long in the league. Already getting a little taste in Brooklyn, making 34% of his threes, his transformation already began. Unlike his former traditional coaches, Lawrence Frank, Avery Johnson, PG Carlesimo, Jason Kidd, and Lionel Hollins, Kenny's last season with the Hawks, Al Horford attempted over 200 trades in 2016, nearly 4 times as much as his 8 seasons prior. Just like Lopez, it's no accident why we've seen Big Al in many big playoff games all these years later. Atkinson preaches spacing in his offense, and so Lopez had a beautiful jumper. Being adaptable on a bad team, knowing he can just demand the ball down low for more touches and pad his stats, his biggest lesson learned while with the Nets. Lopez's willingness to listen, adapt, become more versatile, simply extended his career for a good 4 to 5 years. Team went from 27 in three-point attempts in 2016 to 4th on the first season of Kenny's tenure. Having 9 different coaches, the 29-year-old finally traded for promising former number 2 pick D'Angelo Russell, a gamble the team had to make. Lopez's professionalism and leadership during the long rebuild, underappreciated and never thrown anybody under the bus. Can't say the same for guys like Dwight Howard. 9 long seasons on the same team. His lone year with the Lakers, 13 points a game, averaged just 4 boards. His lowest shot attempts since his rookie season, wasn't utilized properly, played less minutes. Under second-year coach Luke Walton, had 26 games posting 2 rebounds or less. The memorable 27 points, 0 rebound game versus Orlando roasted for many years. But what many didn't understand, Brook's presence pretty good at boxing out his own man. His Lakers actually number 2 in boards per game. Milwaukee dead last the season without him. Flash forward to 2019, Bucks all of a sudden number 1 in rebounds per game, also first in 2020, second 2021, first in 2023. Lakers, a super young team, finish off with 35 wins. Magic Johnson running the front office, elected to let Lopez walk. Second-year Zubac off the bench started to get pretty good, who LA also got rid of, needing to clear cap space in preparation for LeBron James. Lopez himself even said the Lakers disinterested in wanting him, said he would have wanted to play there, considered slow, unathletic, and past his prime on the decline. Took Milwaukee several weeks to make the decision. July 17, 2018, agreeing to a biannual exception close to a vet minimum, $3.3 million 1 year after a 7-point decrease, a career low shooting 46.5% and under 24 minutes played, viewed as a losing player, making just 2 playoffs in his career. Many weren't even convinced Lopez would start for the Bucks over the disappointing John Henson. The other bigs outside of Giannis, Don Maker, Tyler Zeller. Lopez's impact made Bucks fans forget about letting go of Jabari Parker. Not quick enough to switch onto smaller guys, had the length, physicality, and shot blocking. Ended up the perfect situation, teamed up with Giannis, was considered a journeyman, but the first time he actually found a true home, having a real identity on a team that's worthy enough to contend for championships, protected the paint with force, averaged 2.2 blocks, highest of his career, stretching out the floor, allowed Giannis to dominate inside from a back-to-the-basket big, to all of a sudden 2/3 of his shot attempts from behind the arc. Team couldn't have played any better. 60 wins, Giannis' first MVP trophy, a masterful Game 1 win versus Toronto Conference Finals, 29 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks. Despite falling in 6th, the 31-year-old rejuvenated himself, became the first player with 150 blocks and 150 threes in a season. Many players not comfortable changing their habits they've been accustomed to for a decade, but Lopez adapted perfectly, having more total blocks than prime KG in a single season, made more threes than Kobe's best year. For a guy who was considered a huge defensive liability in the modern era to being slow, Lopez proved everybody wrong. Earned himself a 4-year, $52 million deal 2020 season, second in blocks, best defensive rating, Milwaukee first in points, only averaged 4.6 boards, but his presence gave Giannis many opportunities. Greek Freak averaged a whooping 13.6 rebounds. Lopez excels perfect in drop coverage, uses his verticality and huge frame while minimizing his need for foot speed, the type of guy you think's a below average center until you watch him play. Boxes out his man, allows his teammate open rebounds. Coach Bud might be a terrible playoff coach, failing to adjust in pivotal moments, but build a culture and system for high-level regular season success. Milwaukee easily the best record, a whopping 53-9 overall in early March before the struggles never got their rhythm back in the bubble. To Brook's credit, he played great in the Miami series, averaged over 18 points, but Milwaukee being a good rim-protecting team, Miami had a bunch of shooters in Tyler Hero, Jay Crowder, and Duncan Robinson lit up the Bucks the whole series. Teammate George Hill way too focused on politics. Starting point guard Eric Bledsoe, an absolute travesty. Before getting rid of him for Drew Holiday became the Bucks' missing piece, Lopez became the fourth offensive option after being number 1 for most of his younger days, but still very good scorer down low when the opportunity presented itself, punished smaller guys. His size too much for 2021's Brooklyn team. 19 big points game 7, his best game of the series, 3 of 4 from deep, 8 big rebounds, 4 blocks, including a couple on Durant, including one in overtime where he would have gotten the layup, led to a Joe Harris brick. After Giannis' injury conference finals, out game 5, Lopez turned back the clock, put on an offensive masterpiece. 33 big points, 4 rebounds, 14 of 18 from the field, only took 2 threes, activated his traditional game style when called upon, delivered, took advantage of his size, imposed his will, used his experience as a former go-to scorer, complementing Giannis' abilities by spacing the floor. Lopez used his bread and butter when Giannis couldn't play, winning convincingly. After title number 1, Lopez underwent back surgery, returned mid-March of 2022. No Middleton for the Boston series, lost in 7, only to come back for the 23 season looking like Tim Duncan on defense. Felt fresher than ever, Dwight Howard was out the league, DeAndre Jordan entered year 3 as a bench cheerleader, Lopez's 16 points, highest scoring average since his Nets days, 6.7 rebounds, also highest since 2017, 2.5 blocks, a career best, his highest percentage from 3, over 37%, mastered the drop coverage, forced opponents to take bad mid-range shots, didn't rely on any athleticism, uses every part of his 7'6" wingspan to alter shots, looked 5 years younger athletically after surgery, mastered his positioning, timed his movements with the length and big body, comes with experience, understood his role, super disciplined, not flashy, doesn't react emotionally after a huge block, doesn't bite on fakes, combined with being under the radar, many opponents believing, oh, it's just Brook Lopez inside. Underestimated his abilities, almost having a triple-double versus former team March 9th, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 9 blocks. Lopez was looking like 24 out there instead of 34. Did his part in the Miami series, a 25-point game 2, 36 game 4, 18 in game 5. It was Coach Bud's lack of adjustments and Miami's hot 3-point shooting combined with vintage Jimmy Butler. Milwaukee players struggled to make a good entry pass to post up Brook, a lost art in today's game. An absolute travesty. Bud took Brook out of the game, closing seconds regulation game 5, allowed the Jimmy Butler catch and lob, a meltdown for the ages, eventually led to coach departure. The 35-year-old, second day of free agency, came to terms, signing for 2 years, where the Rockets prepared to give him top dollars. Lopez adapting, surviving, never stopped evolving, and excelling. Able to add high qualities to his game, a 3-and-D type 5 who can post better than almost every center out there, given those rare opportunities, can put the ball on the floor and use his floaters, understanding how to make the pieces go together, realizing he's got the most powerful finisher in the game as his teammate. Lopez simply continues to get more comfortable as he ages gracefully. For a guy considered overrated, mocked as a terrible rebounder, many assume he's just a one-dimensional scorer, but Brook way more to his game than anyone knew. For a 90s type center to excelling in the 2010s and 2020s era, nobody in the modern NBA transitioned their game and adapted better than Brook Lopez, making all defensive first team a laughable statement to even suggest if anybody predicted that 5 years ago. His commitment to mastering the required skills, complementing his star players, the indispensable contributions on both ends, while maintaining his post-scoring skills, a combination of elite IQ, turned his $3.3 million the next improbable seasons to making $100 million. His name might not make it to Springfield, but the reinvention of his game, a true pioneer in the modern era, every young traditional big man can simply take a page out of Brook Lopez's career. Might not be the most talented for his class. Derrick Rose won MVP, but his prime cut short due to injuries. Kevin Love might have had a higher peak, but since 2019, nowhere near as effective as Lopez. A full-time starter, 15 years and counting. The center position was about to be extinct back in 2017, but with the help of Lopez transitioning his game, combined with a few legendary young stars on the rise, accepting his role and excelling at the highest of stage, a 7'3"3-and-D guy with a post game as a backup option, Brook Lopez will continue making his presence felt. The true definition of a professional basketball player doing what's best to help his team win, entering year 16 and counting. Basketball reinvention, multi-dimension, contract extensions, his Bucks battling for contention, low post presence, makes opponents trapped in detention, a nice career pension, most incredible career transformations. Brook Lopez always deserves a mention.